Hi everybody, it's Virginia Milner here, and I wanted to bring you another video. I started to do one that was a bracelet. I wanted to do something nice and kind of summery but very simple that you could wear with anything. So I have this nice bracelet that we're going to make. It's going to be a coil and bead bracelet. Now, again, I said I started with a bracelet, but someone mentioned, my sister mentioned that it might be nice for those of us who may be still coronacationing in Puerto Backyarda to have something stylish to wear around the barbecue. So, for the 4th of July. So I decided to do something that would be sufficient for both bracelet and an anklet. So this is a very easy to do for both. All you need to do is change the size to fit your ankle. But it would be just as pretty for both. It's just a very simple design. We'll be making coils, and we'll be using, well, I'm going to be using some simple beads. You can use any beads that you want. You can go ahead and use metal beads, or you can use colorful beads. It's entirely up to you. I decided to go with something that was just neutral. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We'll be making a nice coil and bead bracelet. Now you can also just do the coils. You don't even have to put beads. You can just make a string of coils, string them all together, and that would be fine too. But I wanted something simple. It's kind of unisex. Guys can wear it, gals can wear it. It's for everybody, but I wanted just something that didn't have to go with a specific color or something like that. So that's what we're doing today. It's going to be very easy, very simple. I did this one in silver, so I'll do the one that we're going to do in copper just to have something a little bit different. You can use any color you want. All you need is 20 gauge wire, your choice of beads or no beads. If you'd rather just string the coils together themselves, that's entirely up to you. But let's just go ahead and get started. I've got my little beads here that I'm going to use. Some little beads. And I'm going to use the 20 gauge copper wire. You need your usual jewelry tools, round nose pliers, chain nose or square nose pliers. It depends on who you buy it from as to what they call it. So chain nose or square nose, and cutters, and a ruler to measure your wire. Those are the only things that we need to use today. So let's get started. So I'm going to show you how to make these coils. First of all, we have done wrapped beads, but we're going to do that again just so you have a very good understanding of how to put everything together. And I'm also going to show you how to just link the coils together if you don't want any beads, so that you can do either or. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is decide how big you want your coils to be. Now, the coils that I have here are approximately 1/2 inch, but that's because I have them nice and tight. But if you wanted to, you could pull those coils apart a little bit to make them bigger. But for a good, nice, tight 1/2 inch coil, you need approximately 7.5 inches of wire. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of 7.5 inch 20 gauge wire to get started. And again, whenever you're cutting your wire, make sure you hold on to the end that's free so that it doesn't fly across the room. Okay, I just cut a couple of these. All right. So what we're going to do is make some coils. You don't have to worry about this being super straight because you're about to coil it anyway. So what I need to do is take my round nose pliers, and I need to scoop my wire down until it's at the very back, largest place on my pliers, because I'm going to make a kind of a medium-sized open coil. Now, if you wanted a bigger coil, you could use a pencil or something with a larger expanse, a larger circumference. But for what we're doing today, I'm just going to make small spirals, so we're going to use the pliers. So I've got my wire slid down to the very back of my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to start coiling. So I just roll it until I have a full circle, and then I continue coiling. And your coils, your wire should be the outer part of your wire. The tip of your wire should be facing or going towards the outside of the tip of your pliers. So you want the part that you're coiling to be near the base of your pliers. So this is the outside. The part that I'm coiling is near the back of my pliers. Now you just want to make sure that you hold the wire in place so that it's always the same size. You want one size coil. And you'll see as I'm coiling that the end is starting to drift towards the end of my pliers because it has to have some place to go. So just coiling. Just take it nice and easy. Don't have to rush. It's not a slow process. It goes very, very quickly. It'll take you about a minute to get a coil done. Okay, so there's my first coil. You'll see that little end sticking out there. So I'm going to put my pliers back in and just tap it down all the way around until I get that end to conform with the circular shape. There we go. There's my coil. Here's my first coil. See that? There you go. So that's coil number one. Now I'm going to make my second coil the same way. Place the wire at the back or the hilt of your pliers. Make sure the end, the tip is not sticking out of the pliers. It should be firmly ensconced in between the jaws of the pliers. That tip should be on the outside or the side that's closest to the tip of your pliers. And just continue to rotate. Try to keep a nice tight spiral. But if for some reason you have a gap like this, never fear. All you have to do is squeeze it and it will tighten up right next to the coils next to it. This 20 gauge wire is very, very, very soft and flexible and malleable, so it will do exactly what you want it to do. Again, I have a space there. Squeeze it together. That takes care of it. Just continue to rotate until I've used up all of my wire. Again, it takes maybe a minute per coil. And it's not very hard to do at all. You just keep spiraling, holding the wire with one hand, rotating the plier with the pliers with the other hand. until you've finished all of your wire. Again, that little tip is sticking up there. Just going to tap it down until it takes on the shape of the coil. There we go. And there's coil number 2. Now I'm going to show you how to hook them together. So you're going to take the tip of your pliers, your round nose or your flat nose pliers. Flat nose is probably a little easier because with round wire, it's easier to grip with the flat pliers. Now here is the end of my coil. You can see the little tip there sticking out. I want to grab the coil on the opposite side of that tip. I'm going to use my finger to hold the other coil next to it in place, and I'm just going to turn that up until the ring is on top. And that is how we're going to link them together. Same thing on the other side. Here's the end of my coil. I don't know if you can see that. There's the little tip right there. I'm going to grab the coil on the opposite side, just across from where the tip is. Use my finger. I'm going to just stick it in there between the coils, between the top coil and the one next to it. I'm going to turn the coil up until the ring is on top. So there we have that. We have a ring on each side. One's facing one way and one's facing the other way. So I want to turn that so that they're both facing the same direction. And all I need to do is hold one ring on one side, one on the other side, and twist. Again, the wire is very soft, so it will adjust to whatever you like it to do. So there are my links, my loops that I'm going to use to link. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Find my tip. There it is. Go to the other side. Anchor the coil beside it. Turn that last ring up until I have a nice loop. Go to the other side and do the same thing. Here's my loop on the other side. There we go. Now, before I show you how to link those together, let me just go ahead and show you how to link them together. So on the inside, you have an opening here where your ring ends. So all you have to do is slide one of your rings inside of the other one. And there you go. Nicely linked. Now you can just link these together and make a bracelet just like that. You don't need to put any beads on it if you don't want to, but I'm adding the beads just because I can. So now I'm going to show you how to do a wrapped bead like this. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to have at least 1.5 inches of wire on each side in order to perform a closed loop on my bead. So I give myself a good 1.5 inches on either side of my bead. So there's my bead. I need about 1.5 inches in addition to that. You can kind of eyeball it, but if you want to measure, that's fine. So there's my 1.5 inches on one side. Put it on my bead. inch and a half, inch and a half, and that's how you can measure it. Or you can measure your bead and then just add 3 inches to whatever the size of your bead is. Either way works. So I'm going to cut a couple of these so I can wrap my beads. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my first loop. And you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either just measure off your inch and a half and make your loop, or you can put your bead on there, center it as close to center as you can get if you don't want to measure, or you can put it down and measure. And I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks about centered. Bend my wire back until it's horizontal to the bead. So there's my bead, kind of horizontal there. Now I'm going to take my bead off because it's easier to work with without it on there. I'm going to put my pliers into my wire. My wire's horizontal. My pliers are horizontal, going the opposite direction. And then I'm going to bring my wire up and over the top of my pliers and down the other side. Then I'm going to keep your pliers in there, but turn it until the 2 jaws are facing up. And I'm going to continue to bring my wire around until it's horizontal under the pliers. So now you can see I have a nice loop. And I'm going to continue to wrap my wire around the short edge, around the long edge of the wire, the long length. Twice is enough. That's plenty. So you can see I had a little bit left over. I'm going to clip that off. And again, I always suggest that you hold on to the tail end of this so that it doesn't fly across the room or, heaven forbid, in your face, because it will be going at a high rate of speed. The easiest way to do that is to either take it and turn it down into something like this and cut it. Then you don't have to worry about where it goes. Or if you can grab the tail of it and hold it, that's fine. I would not suggest putting your finger in front of it because, again, it goes at a really fast trajectory. I don't know if that's the right word. High rate of speed. And you don't want it to go through your finger because that could be very, very painful. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to turn it down into this empty spool. Clip it. You heard it, probably heard it slam down in there. That's just how fast it moves. And now I have this little end that's sticking up that I need to take care of. I just need to push it down so that it's nice and close to the other coils and not sticking up ready to snag my clothes or snag my skin. So I'm just going to take my pliers and I'm just going to push it down until it's out of my way. Sticking up there. There we go. And I just like to go all the way around. I'll just take my pliers and work it all the way around until I know it's nice and flat and snug and not waiting to jump out and scratch me. So now I'm going to take my bead, I'm going to put it on my wire, and I'm ready to do the other side. Again, I'm going to take my pliers. You can either take your pliers and just grab it and bend it back, or you can just bend it back on the bead. Either one works. So now I've got my wire bent back till it's horizontal. I've got my pliers facing, the two jaws are facing side to side with one jaw on top, one jaw on the bottom. Bring my wire across over the top of my pliers, down the other side. My wire, turn my pliers until both jaws are on top, and wrap my wire around the stem twice. Now, when I say twice, I mean at least twice. You don't have to stop at 2. You can continue and make it 3 times if you want to. You can make it 4 times. It's entirely up to you, but I wouldn't go less than twice, just so that you know that it's secure. And once I have my wrap, oh my goodness, my phone's ringing. I'm sorry. Once I have my wrap, I'm going to cut off the tail end. Again, I'm going to put it down inside of this empty spool. Cut. There we go. And oh, I'm going to get a little bit closer because that's an awfully big tail that I've got there. Cut that off. That's better. And oh, that flew across the room. Bad, bad, bad. And get rid of that little tail there. Just press it down. So it's out of my way and can do no harm. So there are my 2 rings. Now how, you ask, do I fasten it to this? The exact same way we did with the 2 coils. Just go down inside, find the little opening. If you need to jiggle it a little bit or scoot your opening back so that you can really get to it, that's fine. So there's the opening down in there. I don't know if you can see that. It's really hard to see the opening unless you're looking at it in person. But I can see my the little end is right here. Put the ring down in there. And there we go. I'm going to attach it to the other one. Here's my little end right there. Catch it on the ring. Again, if you need to maneuver it, feel free. I think it's down in there. There we go. And there we have it. I'm going to pull this a little bit so that it's a little, you can pull this until it opens up a little bit if you need to, or you can keep it nice and tight. I want mine to be a good 1/2 inch, so I want to make sure it's the right length. Here we go, 1/2 inch. Let's do one more of these beads. And I'm going to go ahead and slide this on, center it, make my bend, put my pliers in, about 1/3 of the way, the wire down, about 1/3 of the way down my pliers, bring the short end across the pliers and down to the other side. Turn my pliers until they're on top, both jaws are on top. Bring my wire up until it's horizontal under the pliers and wrap around the long end. I'm going to give myself 2 wraps. I'm going to cut it off. And see, I could have probably made this, made it 1 1/4 inches. I'm going to hold onto that tail because it's nice and long. I'm going to hold my tail, cut it off. Tail stayed secure when I cut it, didn't go anywhere. But I can see that I really only needed about 1 1/4 yards, I mean 1 1/4 inches to make my wraps. But it's better than having too little to work with. So now I'm gonna push that tail down out of my way so it won't catch on anything. Again, I like to tamp it all the way around so I can make sure it's good and secure down there. There. Put my bead on. Make my other loop. Horizontal bend. Flip my pliers. Wrap over top. Flip my pliers again until both jaws are on top. Wrap my wire around until it's between the bead and the pliers, and wrap the tail around twice, or whatever number of times you would like to do it. And clip it off close as I can get. Push down my end. Okay, and there are my loops. Let's attach them. Oh, for heaven's sake, what in the world are people calling me for? Why are people calling me? Okay, there we go. Nice, 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 nice. Sneaking those up a little bit. Get them nice and round. And there we have it. So what I'm going to do is, I have a nice string already made. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the rest of those to this one. So let's go down in there and find the end. Get it out a little bit. Push that in there. Okay, it does not want to go. Again, if you need to make an adjustment, see how I had to lift that out of there a little bit? And slide that on, and then push that back under because you don't want the, you have an open loop here, you don't want your bead to come off. So now I just push that back under. And attach it on the other side to the rest of the beads. There we go. Make sure that's closed. And there we have it. So now I'm going to show you how to make your hook. Make sure they're all about a 1/2 inch. Give them a little tug. Here we go. Yeah, very nice. And if for some reason you pull too much, you pull it too far apart, just squeeze it back together and it will go. This is wonderful wire. Does exactly what you tell it to do. Okay, so now I'm going to make, and now one thing that the way that this is pretty simple to figure out. You need to measure your wrist or measure your ankle, and then you make enough beads to accommodate whatever that size is. So you just measure it. If you have a 10-inch ankle, I'm just throwing out a number here. If you have your ankle is a 10-inch circumference, give yourself about 10 inches or 9 3/4 inches because you need space in order to fasten it. So I would give myself 10 inches. If you need to take one off, you can take one off. If you need to add another one, add another bead or another coil, you can add one on. This is very easy to add and subtract from. And the other good thing about it is you can wear it either way. If you make it big enough to fit your ankle, you can unhook some of the pieces in order to change it to a bracelet. So if you make it anklet size, you can wear it for both just by making an adjustment in regard to how many links you have on. Very, very simple. It's really wonderfully adjustable. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to make your hook. I'm making an S hook. It's my favorite, the most versatile hook that you can possibly make. So that's what we're going to do. And one of the reasons that I love this type of hook is because it does not differentiate between right-handed or left-handed. It doesn't matter what side, which hand you use, because you can fasten it on either side because it has a hook on each side. So what I'm going to do, I need or want my hook to be approximately 3/4 of an inch, 5/8 of an inch long, because I have a pretty good amount here already. I think this is probably too big for my wrist, not quite big enough for my ankle, but definitely too big for my wrist, so I can add some more to it if I wanted to use it as an anklet, or take 1 or 2 of my links off if I wanted to use it as a bracelet, which is probably what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do here is take about 1.5 inches to make a 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch hook. So the way that I can determine whether or not I need less or more, I think I need about 1.25 inches, but I'd rather give myself a little bit more than I need. I'm pretty sure that looks awfully small. I think it's more like 2.5, not 1.5. Yeah. Okay. So I need about 2.5. Because by the time let me see if I have one here. By the time I scroll it, that uses up pieces of it. So it's approximately 1/4 of an inch for each side. So that's one. And maybe 1.5 is good. Let's try it. If that doesn't work, I can always get another piece. But I've got 1.5 inches of wire here. I want it a little bit bigger than this. I want it to be about 5/8 of an inch long to 3/4 of an inch long. So the first thing that I'm going to do is make a tiny little loop on the end of my wire. The smaller, the better. So I'm going to grab my wire with the very tip of my pliers, making sure that there's no wire sticking out from between the jaws of my pliers. So you can see there's a little wire sticking out. I just need to scoot it down until it's flush with the back of my pliers. There we go. Now, Now, I was just about to say that can be a little challenging because your wire is going to want to pop out of there, but just be patient. So now I'm going to make a teeny tiny little loop. Just rotate it until I have a very, very small loop. And I would suggest that you just go 3/4 of a way around and then kind of squeeze it into a small nub. So now I have a tiny little nub, because that's going to need to fit into one end of your clasp, of your bracelet as your clasp. So I've got my tiny loop. Now I'm going to take my pliers. I'm going to go back about 2/3 of the way down my pliers, almost to the back, but not quite, because I don't want a huge hook. That's about 3/4 of the way back. And I'm going to make a loop. So I'm just going to rotate around until the long edge of my pliers hits the top of my ring. And if you notice that when I put this in, the ring, the bottom of the ring is the part where the end is. So when I take this out, I have a little shepherd's hook. So now I'm going to go back in and do the other side. First, I'm going to measure. I had 1.5 yards of wire. Let's see how much this loop took for me to make. Okay, I have about 5/8 left, which means I probably needed 1 yard and 5/8, because I had 1.5 yards. Now I have, yes, I have about 5/8 of an inch left. Let's see what that gets me. I think I'll be okay. So I need to make another loop that's facing the same side as the large shepherd's hook that I have. I'm going to make a loop. Oh my goodness, I'm popular today. Make a loop. Very small loop. And smash it down into a little nub. There we go. Then I'm going to make a larger loop. Slide my loop into my pliers about 3/4 of the way down. This is the bottom where the opening is. That's the bottom. Then I'm going to bring my shepherd's hook around and over to touch the top of my hook. So there we go. And look at that, a little smaller than I wanted. It's about, not really, it's about 1/2 inch, but I want it a little longer, I think. So trial and error, that would actually work. Because it's already, my bracelet's already too big. So I'm going to go with 1.75 yards. Let's do that, because I can always cut it off if it's too much. So we've got 1.75 yards here. Make sure. Yes. So again, tiny little loop, tip of my pliers, grabbing the tip of my wire. Making a tiny loop. Squeeze that last part down until I have a little nub. go. I'm going to bring my pliers down on the wire just under the loop. Here is the bottom where the end is. 3/4 of the way down my pliers. There's my bottom. This is the top. I'm going to bring the wire over to tap the top. There we go. And I have my shepherd's hook. Let's see how much wire I have left. I had 1 3/4, and now I have 3/4. Yes. So I used a whole inch, but I think that'll be fine because I'll just have a slightly overlapping loop. Don't want it to be too big. Grabbing the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Again, making a loop on the same side as the long hook. Small as I can get. Just 3/4 of the way. Squeeze it into a nub. There we go. This little nub there. Let's make my other side of my hook. Slide my pliers under my wire. The wire is back 3/4 of an inch, or 3/4 of the way down my pliers. This is the bottom, kind of hanging over the one jaw. I'm going to bring my hook around and touch the top of my loop. And there we have it. Perfect. One on top of the other. You can make them a little further apart than you want if you want, but this is what I wanted. So it took me 1 3/4 of an inch of wire to achieve a 5 1/8 inch hook. Very good. Now the reason I said you need a tiny little nub is because this needs to fit in this little loop. And the reason I also said I like this hook is because you can use it with left-handed or right-handed. It doesn't matter because you can unhook each side. So fasten my hook, and there's my anklet. There we go. Very nice. Very simple. You can wear it with anything. And be a nice class act while you're communicationing. So there's that. Very easy, very simple. You can make as many of these as you want. And again, you don't have to have any beads if you don't want beads. You can just link the coils together and that'll make a nice bracelet as well. As a matter of fact, that's a good idea if you're doing it for a guy because they may not want any beads at all. And just the coils will do. So there we are. I have an anklet. I have a bracelet. I can do anything I want with those. I can wear them any way I want with anything I want. I'm a happy camper. So that is our program for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you're able to get out. It's kind of hard that we are being so careful, but we need to be because it's just, this is the new normal. We just need to be careful and take care of ourselves. And I hope that's what you're doing. I'm trying to do that for myself. And as much as I miss you all, I want you all to stay safe. So please do that. Try to stay cool. Try to let me know how you're doing, how we're doing, whether or not you like these, whether or not you don't. And if you have an occasion to make some of these things, and I hope you do, please post it on the library Facebook page, or send me a picture to the email that we've provided in the description. And if you aren't aware of it, we also have these videos on YouTube now. So you can see all videos on YouTube in one nice, neat and tidy place. And they've also listed them on Facebook in one nice long list. So it makes it easy for you to get to. Please let me know if you need any supplies. If you can't find any supplies, I might be able to direct you. Pretty much everything is opening up again now, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. But if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see what you do. I love to see your creations. And just please, please, please stay in touch. And I will see you next time, or actually, you will see me next week. Bye-bye.